back to my channel. So today what I want to talk about is something I get asked a lot as an international student, and it is, what were my biggest culture shocks coming to the UK and coming to Durham specifically. I probably, when I meet someone, I want to say this is like the third question out of their mouth, because it's normally like, what are you studying, where are you from, how different is it here from where you're from. I think it's really interesting because even I get asked this by like fellow international students. More and more people and more international students specifically, I always find it's interesting that it is a commonly asked question, and I kind of want to talk about it. So yeah, I'm going to talk about 5 things that I noticed are most different from Canada. The first 3 I think are going to be UK specific, and then the other 2 are going to be maybe UK specific, but I think it's more of a like weird Durham phenomenon. So yeah, welcome to my channel. Alright, so the first thing, and I love this so much, is the tax being included in the prices here. I love it so much. It's like when you go into a store, let's say I wanted to buy this can of Diet Coke. If it is £1 on the shelf, when I take it up to the till, it is £1. It is not £1 5 pence. It is not £1 20. It is £1. You don't have to do like the mental math when you have cash of like, oh, do I have enough? Am I gonna have to pay card? And even my boyfriend noticed this, like when he visited Canada this summer, he thought it was really strange going into shops and having to do the additional math of like, oh, it's 5%, and explain to him that like different places in Canada have different tax rates, because we were looking at going to BC, and BC has a provincial tax. And I was like, no, like BC's really pricey, like let's not. And he was like, well, is that just like a BC thing? I'm like, no, they just have, BC's expensive anyways, but I was like, they have an extra tax on top of like the federal 5% tax. And he thought that was really strange. And in like hindsight, or not hindsight, but like having experienced the UK, I just love the tax being included in the price. It just makes life so much easier. Drinking is so common here, where like I study at a bar that's close to my house, and it does like food and tea and stuff because it has like the cheapest tea and coffee. Library bar, if anyone's wondering, in town. So cheap, the staff is so nice. But like I kind of figured everyone in there is like studying in student age, and the amount of people at like 1:30 are like doing shots is insane to me. Because like I remember when the pandemic first started, I would drink at like 4 or 5 p.m. and I thought I was wild in. And then here it's just so common, and even like after one of my classes that ends at 3 p.m. people will be like, oh, do you want to go get a drink? I'm like, oh, it's like at 3:30, and they're like, yeah, and I'm like, fair enough, you got me here, like I guess so. I just think drinking culture in the UK is a lot different. That I think there's more of a drinking culture here, but I don't think it's as, I don't want to say toxic as North American drinking culture, but like it's a lot, I also don't want to make the UK sound like alcoholics and say it's like more normalized to drink here, but I think even though drinking is a lot more popular and common here, I think people have a more healthy relationship in general with alcohol, versus I see like my friends in Canada that maybe only go partying like once or twice a week, and they're binge drinking and they're getting sick and all the awful things that come along with binge drinking, versus I'm having like 1 or 2 a night, and maybe I'll go party like once or twice a month. Found that interesting. I really like it because I find it's just a fun little way to socialize. I want to put it out there that like you don't have to drink alcohol to be cool, and like you don't have to have alcohol to have a good time. I just find that's like how I socialize, and maybe I should find other ways of socializing, but yeah, anyways. sure this is like a UK wide thing, but like Wednesdays being sport and society day, and most of our classes end at noon, so we can go do sports and society stuff and have like socials, is so strange to me. Because like back in Canada, because I did 2 years of university in Canada, one of them was completely online. I did about half of one in person, so like I didn't get the full experience or whatever you want to call it. But like I found Canadian universities, as much as they pushed us to do extracurriculars, they didn't really hash out the time for us to do it, because Canadian school system is just, or the Canadian school system, but more so the Canadian university system is so different from the UK. I think it's really interesting that the UK universities kind of carve out this time for us, and I really appreciate it. I think it helps you take a step back from schooling and socialize, and you're not stressed about running from, let's say, like, I don't know, a lecture to a practice. And some days I am, won't lie, but like to have that time to like and chill out, it's just so nice. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm pretty sure that's like a UK wide thing. If it's just a Durham thing, let me know in the comments, but pretty sure that's like a whole UK thing. Now we're into like the Durham specific stuff. Like a class divide is so prevalent here. I'm sure it's prevalent in other UK universities, but I find it's really talked about here, of like the raws, as people call them, are like the ultra wealthy students versus the more working class students. I definitely noticed divide between them. It's sort of like cliquey in a way almost, and it's like a way people are discussed, because even my boyfriend will talk about people, or we'll like go for a coffee and people watch, and we'll watch people go by and we'll be like, oh, they're so raw, like they're so this and that. Like we've never met these people, and it is rude of us to judge these individuals because we don't know what their situation is. But I think in some instances, I'll tell 2 specific stories. So last year I was in a class where the projector wasn't working, and I had left my laptop at home, and I was taking like notes in a notebook, and the prof was like, oh, just pull out your laptops and pull up the slides and we'll, you know, get going. And I didn't have my laptop, so I couldn't see the slides. And so I asked the girl next to me, and she was like, oh, like my laptop's almost dead and I take notes on the slides, so like, no, like you can't read off my screen. I was like, okay, fair enough. So I just tapped the guy. There were like 4 guys in front of me. They all had laptops. And I just tapped the guy in front of me in the shoulder. I wish I could do an English accent, because this would make the story so much better, but I still can't impersonate English people. And I tapped him on the shoulder and I was like, hey, like, do you mind just scooching your laptop a little over to the side just so I can read the notes? Because, you know, I don't have my laptop with me today. And he was like, oh, no, like, I'm using it. And I was like, okay, cool. Meanwhile, he just is chatting absolutely with his buddies the entire lecture and is not paying attention. And then they start like mocking me in front of me, or like, ugh, these poor, like not poor as in, oh, poor thing doesn't have a laptop, like poor as in she doesn't have money, American, like what is she doing here, da, 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 like this is why like Durham isn't selective enough with students. And I'm like sitting, I have to listen to this for 15 minutes, and I was so pissed off leaving that class. I ended up complaining to the prof, where I was like, hey, can we not, like, babes, what's going on? And she was like, oh, do you know their names? Because like I will talk to them. And I was like, no, like I don't talk to anyone in this class. And then when they do these sort of day out called invades, and I went with my boyfriend. We were supposed to go with friends, but there was a train strike, and so they couldn't come down, so we went, just the 2 of us. And it's where you go to they do ones for horse racing, rugby, and cricket. We went to one of the horse racing ones, and you go to a track for the day. You can place bets on the horses and watch the races live. It was really, really cool. It was such a long day though, and I was hungover before the day even started. But it was about halfway through the day, and we had won a bet. We did really well that day. Unrelated, we did so well that day. We were going to cash a bet, and there was a guy standing in front of us. He was like laughing with his buddy, and he said something to the effect of, I don't understand why poor people go and get minimum wage jobs when they can just come to a race course for the day with like 5 pounds and probably make more than they would in a minimum wage job. And I remember hearing this and looking at my boyfriend and my boyfriend looking at me, and us both going like, do we just hear that? Like, did we just hear that? And I think we hear so many horror stories of like people coming to uni and getting like massive allowances, going out in like super nice clothes. Like you see it on Facebook, like lost and found Facebook pages of like, lost my Tiffany necklace, and I'm like, I have one Tiffany necklace and it stays in its case and is only worn for special events. So I found that really interesting, but let me know if that's like a more, I noticed it in Durham, but I think Durham's a bit of a fishbowl. So if you are at a different university in the UK and you notice that kind of class divide, let me know. I think Durham is one of the only universities in the UK that doesn't have a reading week, and I'm used to getting reading weeks back in Canada where you get like a week off to like catch up on your work and hand in your assignments and do all that. And it's so strange to me of doing like 10 straight weeks of classes with like no break and no like time to catch up, because it's like I'm a little bit behind right now, and so I'm catching up like at night and on weekends. And I think I'm kind of used to being back at uni in Canada where I know like, oh, I have this week coming up and I can catch up on this, versus now I'm like cramming on weekends and cramming on weeknights. And I know a few, Durham isn't like the only university in the UK that doesn't give reading weeks, but it's in a minority. And I find it so weird, and I kind of don't like it, where I think by like week 8 of term, we're in week 4 right now, like between week 5 and week 8, I feel like everyone is so burnt out. Like so many of my friends that are from the UK go home for a weekend or go home for half a week, just like get a break, and I think everyone gets so burnt out and you're just so over it. And as like weeks go on, like attendance starts dwindling at lectures so much, and even the lecturers get annoyed. And I think that's something that like a reading week would really help people out, or at least some people. I think some people would just take it as an excuse to go on a trip, or I mean I would too, but like to get that time to catch back up on work, I really miss, especially when so much of my work, like it's not like university in Canada where maybe I have 2-3 essays to hand in a term, or 2 midterms and a final. Like I usually hand in 1 paper. For some of my classes it is 1 paper and it is 100% of my grade, or I hand in 1 paper each term, so they're each 50% of my grade. So like obviously I get very worked up about them because it's like insane, but you know, I don't really have that time. I mean, they give us time at the end of term to work on the papers, but I would find it a lot more beneficial to get time, like specific set out time during the term to work on my paper while the profs are still available to me to book into office hours and discuss it with them. But hey, that's just me. Who's to say? So yeah, those are some of my biggest 5 culture shocks coming to the UK. As I was like filming this video, I thought of more. So let me know if you want a part 2, because I think that would be really interesting. Or if you're an international student studying in the UK, let me know in the comments what some of your culture shocks would be, because I love reading like what has shocked other people that maybe isn't like, maybe it's like a mutual like UK Canada like Commonwealth thing, but like people from other countries don't notice it, or like things that I've never noticed and I'm like, oh yeah, that is like way different. I don't know, I just like knowing these things. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like. If you know of any other culture shocks, or any of my culture shocks shocked you, or you have like stories that relate to my culture shocks, let me know in the comments. If you want to see more of my kind of content, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do, but I'm kind of liking my like videos right now. I'm filming a whole bunch in one day. I just filmed another one before this, so I can try to make more videos for you guys. And yeah, I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. I think I only have 40 right now, so make sure to subscribe to me. Or if you know someone coming to Durham University in the near future, let them know about my channel and get them to subscribe to me. So yeah, so at the end of all my videos, if you have a little beverage near you, make sure to pick it up. I have my emotional support water bottle. I also have a Diet Coke, but I'll be well behaved and have some water. We take a little sip of our drink, our little beverage. at the end of every video, we stay hydrated, we stay healthy, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!